Alright, this is the description of how to flatten a record that's arrived a little bent. As you can see, this record, you might be able to tell, has a slight warble to it. It's not horrible, but I'm going to show you how it flattens out. First thing you want to do is take your heat gun, take your bottom piece of glass. I like to use a heavier piece of glass. You're going to heat that up. Glass melts at like 1600 degrees or something, so you don't have to worry about getting it too hot. The only thing you have to worry about with glass is when it cools. That's when you can run into trouble. We're not trying to get this hot like an oven. We're just going to get it warm enough to where it feels a little bit warm to the touch, maybe about as hot as a piece of toast. Heat guns are pretty good at blasting heat. They have coils in them that heat up. So you're going to do this. This is my first step. It's pretty warm. The reason I get this piece warm first is because once you put the vinyl down on top of it, you're not going to be able to put direct heat on the center of the glass. That's pretty warm. Turn off the heat gun. Make sure the glass is clean really good. Lay your record down on top of it. It's not going to hurt it. You're not cooking or trying to melt the vinyl. You're just warming it up. I can see where the lip is curled up a little bit on both sides. So usually I'll just take and mark it somewhere so I know about where the bend is. And then you're going to take your second piece of glass. Again, make sure it's clean. Lay it over top of it. At this point, I like to take a 10-pound weight, lay it right in the center. Now what you're doing now is you're just compressing everything so it's nice and flat. Now you take your heat gun, put it on the high setting, and you're going to work around the perimeter. Again, do not put the direct heat on the vinyl. Glass is really good at conducting heat, so all the heat is going to travel through the glass. You'll know when the glass starts to really get hot because you'll start to feel the heat coming off the glass. So I go right around the perimeter, staying a couple inches away, 2-3 inches away from the edge of the record. Because again, we're not trying to melt the record, we're just trying to heat the record up. Starting to get some good heat. Now as you can see over here is where the problem was, and over on this corner a little bit. So I'm going to heat that up a little bit more because I want it to bend there a little bit and flatten itself out. Now what I like to do also is I'm using a metal weight, and metal conducts heat a little different than glass. So I'll just kind of hit that weight with the heat just to warm it up. Don't get too close, you don't want to melt your record. Wait till you feel that ambient heat coming off of it. You'll start to feel it pretty quick because you've already heated up the glass. All the heat is going to travel through the glass. I've read a lot of things about how people put these in ovens and out in direct sunlight. Tried other things. I haven't tried the oven or the sunlight. I know what happens if you do that kind of stuff. Found out by accident many times. So I'm starting to get pretty warm now. I find that this works best if you get it hot to the touch on the surface. And you'll know that the record is starting to flatten out because you'll see the lip where the needle hits it first is starting to actually hit the glass. A little bit more in the middle, just to kind of get it warmed up consistently. That way, you know, these things don't get hot as fast. Alright, glass is pretty hot now. So now what we do, once we got our glass nice and hot, we know that that heat is traveling through. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put the heavier weights right along the edge of the album where it's bent the most. And then the lighter weights where you're not so warped. You don't really have to flatten it there too much, but you want it to flatten out the most where it's warped the most. Give it a little bit more heat. Don't cook the weights because they've got rubber on them and you'll cook them. Do a little bit more on the center. Right on the weight, just to keep that consistent heat up. Turn it off, and now all you got to do is just wait. And you let this cool until it's room temperature and you can feel that it's not burning hot anymore. It's really hot right now around the edges. So what's going to happen is that heat is going to transfer to the vinyl, which is going to get the molecules to speed up in the vinyl, and it'll kind of work itself flat if you let it sit like this. A lot of records are exposed to excessive heat in the shipping process. Airplane cargo holds get really hot, from what I understand. Plus, if you live like I do in Florida, it's ambient heat, 97 degrees out right now. Just riding around in the mail truck, if they've got stuff stacked against it, it's going to melt too. So hopefully this helps you. Just remember, don't ever put direct heat on the vinyl. That heat gun gets up to, like, I think that one's 185, 200 degrees. It'll melt the vinyl. It'll actually, the grooves will be gone. You won't be able to play the record anymore. Again, we're not trying to melt the record. We're trying to warm it up enough so it goes back to its original form, which should be flat if the factory did what they're supposed to when they pressed the record. So I'll post a picture after the video showing that the record is flat. And sometimes it takes one or two times. You might have to flip it over, heat it up one time, but always make sure that you go back to the worst side up and then heat it again around the edge, because it'll flatten it out even better. And good luck. Don't blame me if you melt your records. Use common sense. See ya.